Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to have you here today. We're going to explore a very important topic: modern dating, recognizing emotional damage and high maintenance patterns. This presentation will help you understand the subtle signs that might indicate emotional wounds or complex relationship behaviors. We'll cover common warning signs based on psychology and real world experience so you can navigate dating more confidently. Let's get started. Let's talk about some early indicators of character and relational instability. First, if she's rude to wait staff or service workers, that's a big red flag. It shows she might lack empathy or respect for people who can't benefit her directly. Treating others poorly because they're in a powerless position often signals insecurity, entitlement, or narcissistic tendencies. Remember, kindness towards those who can't do anything for us is one of the strongest signs of emotional maturity. Next, pay attention if she's constantly trash-talking her exes, friends, or former partners. If she's always blaming others and calling everyone toxic or crazy, that's usually a sign that she might be the common denominator in those issues. And this behavior often predicts future relational instability. Eventually, she'll probably talk about you the same way once things don't work out. Lastly, notice how she interacts with your friends or family. If spending time with your loved ones feels like a chore to her, like she's doing you a favor, that's a sign of selfishness and a self-centered worldview. It indicates she might struggle to integrate into your life without expecting something in return. All these signs can help you spot deeper character issues early on, which is essential for understanding the overall health of a relationship. Let's talk about some clear signs of low accountability and emotional immaturity. First, she dismisses your opinions, especially when you challenge her. If you find yourself unable to be right, or if she keeps reframing your ideas as her own, or gets defensive at the slightest disagreement, that's a red flag. It shows she can't handle emotional accountability, which often masks low self-esteem with a false sense of superiority. Next, she might want to rush the relationship at warp speed. Genuine early affection can be sweet, but if she's pushing to lock you down immediately, wanting to see you constantly, defining the relationship too fast, or speeding up intimacy, that's often driven by fear of abandonment, not real connection. And interestingly, once that needy phase passes, she might suddenly lose interest altogether. Finally, she insults you, whether directly or through sarcasm. Constant teasing, jokes at your expense, or subtle digs about your appearance, success, or abilities are covert attacks. Sometimes, emotionally damaged women pull others down to boost their own sense of importance. Over time, this erodes your confidence and creates a toxic power imbalance that's hard to ignore. Let's talk about the blame game and how avoiding responsibility can really impact relationships. First, some people, like this woman, never seem to take responsibility for anything. Whenever there's a problem, whether she's late, cancels plans, or messes up in some way, she always points the finger elsewhere. The key point here is that someone who can't own even a small part of the fault can't really maintain a healthy, balanced relationship. Next, her apologies are often followed by a but. For example, she might say, "I'm sorry, but..." Anything that comes after that, but essentially cancels out the apology. It signals deflection, emotional immaturity, and an inability to self-reflect. So what might seem like an apology isn't really one. It's more like a justification or an excuse. Finally, when she feels insecure or stressed, she might attack you or use you as an emotional punching bag. This behavior often stems from unresolved trauma or internal struggles, and it usually happens subconsciously. But even if it's subconscious, it's still damaging. Healthy partners seek comfort and connection, not conflict or blame. Recognizing these patterns can help us understand how avoiding responsibility can undermine the trust and safety in a relationship. Let's talk about some self-centered dynamics and emotional sabotage that can really disrupt a relationship. First, she can't celebrate your wins. When you succeed, instead of feeling happy for you, she might become distant, cold, or subtly dismissive. Her fear is that you'll level up and leave her behind, so she minimizes your accomplishments to soothe her own insecurity. This is a classic example of emotional sabotage, where her actions undermine your success instead of supporting it. Next, she thrives on drama. Drama doesn't just happen to her, she actually creates it. If life suddenly becomes calm, she'll stir conflict. Why? Because she fears boredom and chaos makes her feel significant. Emotional intensity fills a void that she might be missing in intimacy. But this behavior leads to unstable, exhausting relationships because it keeps things unpredictable and draining. Finally, she only takes and never gives. There's no reciprocity, no effort, no emotional contribution. You might give affection, time, money, or support, but she sees that as her entitlement rather than your generosity. When giving flows one way, resentment is almost inevitable because it feels unbalanced and unappreciated. Connecting all these points, what we're really seeing is how these self-centered behaviors create a cycle of emotional sabotage, making it difficult to build a healthy, supportive connection. Recognizing these patterns is key to understanding the dynamics at play. Let's talk about the red flag of friendship circles, specifically when someone has many male friends, but almost no female friends. This is often a sign of deeper issues. If a woman struggles to maintain healthy female friendships, it can point to problems like competition, jealousy, or a lack of emotional maturity. Instead, she might find herself surrounded by male orbiters who offer constant validation, attention, and ego boosts. These relationships don't usually require much emotional growth or vulnerability, which can be tempting but also problematic. This pattern is a major red flag because it often indicates insecurity and an avoidance of accountability. Instead of building genuine, balanced friendships, she may be relying on superficial interactions that serve her ego but don't foster real connection or personal growth. So, in the context of our overall theme, this kind of friendship dynamic reveals a lot about underlying insecurities and emotional health. It's a key warning sign to be aware of in understanding relationship patterns. Let's take a closer look at this contradictory need for validation. On one hand, she craves attention from men, and she might even dress provocatively to get that validation. But at the same time, she belittles men, treats them as objects, or even calls all men trash. This creates a really complex and conflicting pattern. What it reveals is deep emotional wounds and unresolved resentment that she's holding onto. It's like she's using men for validation, but at the same time, she looks down on them or despises them. This kind of behavior can often be manipulative, where the attention she seeks is actually a way to fill a void or cover up deeper issues. Understanding this contradiction helps us see how emotional pain and resentment can distort someone's view of relationships and gender dynamics. It's a powerful reminder of how unresolved feelings can manifest in these confusing patterns. Now, on this slide, we're looking at a very specific type of feminism: extreme, ideological third or fourth wave feminism. It's important to understand that this isn't about equality in the traditional sense. It's more about a mindset that views relationships as battles for dominance. When someone sees men as inherently inferior, it creates a fundamentally adversarial dynamic. This perspective means that connection and partnership become nearly impossible because it's rooted in the idea that men are flawed by nature. If you start from that belief, you're constantly seeing the other person as an opponent rather than a partner. So, in these relationships, the idea of enough just doesn't come into play. They're built on a foundation of opposition rather than mutual respect. And this is a key point to recognize, because such a mindset can really hinder genuine connection and healthy relationships overall. It's a stark contrast to the more balanced, equality-based approach that promotes cooperation and understanding. Let's talk about the importance of alignment in relationships. Even if she's beautiful, charismatic, or intoxicating, if your core beliefs, long-term goals, and values don't match up, the relationship is likely headed for trouble. A connection based solely on surface qualities can be fragile because underlying differences will eventually surface. Now, there's a difference between intensity and compatibility. Sometimes, especially with someone who's emotionally damaged or high maintenance, they might thrive on chaos and drama rather than genuine compatibility. That intensity can feel exciting at first, but it's often a red flag that the connection isn't healthy or sustainable. Another common mistake is confusing chaos and lust for love. If you stay too long in a tumultuous situation, you might start to believe that the chaos is part of true connection or passion. But in reality, that's often just lust or emotional roller coasters disguising themselves as love. And finally, a bonus point: your values don't match. When your core principles and long-term visions are misaligned, it's a recipe for ongoing conflict. Knowing what truly matters to you helps ensure that your relationship supports your growth, rather than pulling you away from what's important. All these points highlight why alignment is so essential. It's the foundation that keeps a relationship strong and lasting over time. Final thoughts: protecting your future. Remember, emotionally damaged individuals are not bad people. They're wounded people. It's important to see their pain, not judge their behavior. But, and this is key, unless they're actively healing, their wounds can become your wounds. That's why early recognition is so crucial. It helps you protect your time, your heart, and ultimately your future. By understanding these signs, you can set healthy boundaries and prioritize your well-being. This ties back to our overall theme: taking care of yourself so you can navigate relationships wisely and protect your emotional health. So stay vigilant, stay compassionate, and remember, your future depends on the choices you make today.